Welcome to the Leadership Spark podcast, where we equip you to be the great leader your people deserve. This is Corey, and today we're going to wrap up a 3-day focus on how to lead remote teams. We've talked about why it's hard. We've talked about 3 things you don't want to do. Today, I want to give you 3 hot takes when it comes to leading remote teams and tips and best practices that you can use to be able to elevate your effectiveness leading remote teams. And so the number one thing is this: stop checking in and start checking alignment. Stop checking in, start checking alignment. So the hot take is this: constant check-ins to your team, it feels like micromanagement. Alignment conversations build autonomy. So think about that. Constant checking in. If you're constantly checking in, however you're doing it with the people who are remote, it feels like micromanagement. But if you are checking in on alignment, not on just checking in if they're there and they're working, then it can create autonomy, which really unlocks the ability for people to bring their best if they feel like they're given respect and trust to be able to get their job done. And so here's your power tip: is replace status meetings with short alignment syncs. And so maybe you have a status meeting every day, end of day or beginning of day. Replace those with short alignment syncs. Are we still moving in the right direction? Are there any obstacles in your way? What do you have planned today? What does success look like today? What does a win look like for you today? What are things that I can do to support you get your win today? And you're asking those kind of questions for remote people, and you are communicating autonomy to them, but you're also keeping the focus on alignment. So this shifts the tone from control to collaboration. And when people feel collaboration, they feel like you trust them, and they feel like they can hold themselves and you will hold them accountable to the shared goal that you've decided on together. And so stop checking in, start checking alignment. The second thing is this: visibility does not equal activity. You want to measure outcomes, not online time. And we've talked about this a couple of times over the last couple of days, but the hot take is this: leaders who track hours or online presence are leading from fear, not trust. So if you're tracking hours or how long someone's green dot on Slack stayed green, then what you are tracking is fear, not trust. And you want to be cultivating trust on your team. And so the way that you can do that is that you can define clear success metrics for every role. What are the deliverables? What is the impact? What is the customer satisfaction that I expect you to get from the role that you're in? And then you coach people to those outcomes that you want. So you're very clear on what the outcome, the standard, the expectation is, and your job as a leader is to coach them up to that. So when people know what success is and success is defined, what their own results look like, they will own their results. And that's what you want. You want an ownership mindset. You want accountability. You want that to be happening. And that becomes internal, not enforced whenever you do this. And so visibility doesn't necessarily mean activity. Measure outcomes, not just online time. And the third is this: be radically consistent in communication, and predictably human. So be radically consistent when you communicate and predictably human. Trust dies where there's inconsistent communication. Trust dies in inconsistency faster than people receiving bad news. They would rather receive bad news. You are in a better position as a leader if you give the bad news versus the inconsistency in communication. And so you want to keep a steady cadence of communication with your people, one-on-ones, weekly team syncs, whatever that may look like, transparent updates. Even when there's really nothing new, you are committing to consistently communicate, and add the human moments. Celebrate people so they can feel it in the small wins, the personal reflections, the spotlights that allow them to feel connected. So those are 3 things that you can do to be able to lead remote teams effectively. Stop checking in, start checking alignment. Visibility doesn't equal activity, and be radically consistent in communication. If you do those things, you will be more effective leading remote teams.